In this tutorial series, we'll be going through MetaSounds node by node for the Unreal Engine, learning how to go from beginner to complicated in game-driven sounds and procedurally generated music.
All right, today we're going to talk about a random value in MetaSounds. You don't need to worry about all of this. If you've been following the tutorial, you can see that we've created a heartbeat sound that goes to a beat. With some other stuff about trigger counting and things in there as well. But what you need to know today is how to deal with something random. And we've already covered in previous tutorials, scale to note array, MIDI note quantizer. But all you need to know for this is that this will automatically pick something that sounds good no matter what, with it being a pentatonic. We'll start with a major pentatonic. Again, covered in another tutorial. We're talking today about getting a random value. So we're going to get a random float. So if you type in random float, you can find the random float node here. So what the on next is essentially a way to go into the trigger that's going on. So we have a constantly repeating trigger here. You can see it with the meta sound. On reset would be a way to reset this random float as it generates its values. This would essentially get it back to start. Useful to get randomized repetitions, as it says, triggers to reset to a random sequence. So when reset is triggered, it will also trigger on reset. When next is triggered, it'll also trigger on next. This is a way to pass through the trigger. So essentially we could do this, or this. Those are essentially just pass-throughs, which is useful for syncing things up and things like that. So here, the seed value is used for the random node, set to -1 to use a random seed. So essentially, you can change how your randomization happens. If you use the same seed, you will get the same random values every time. You're probably going to want to have it set as -1. And with the random float, you can do a minimum or a maximum. So let's say we wanted to get a random float in between 60 and 75. Let's see. Let's look at our piano chart for MIDI values. Now, again, as we've covered before, a MIDI value is essentially assigning a number to a piano key, and then that number also has a frequency assigned to it. So as we look at this chart, I just Googled MIDI chart. We can see it. I just know, being a musician, that C starts here. It's all the white notes in between here and here. So it goes between 72 and 60. So we're actually going to make it 72. And I've got a major pentatonic. I'm going to unselect chord tones. Again, this is covered in a different thing. But we're going to plug in a different note in for every time. So I'm going to generate a different number in between 60 and 72 and get a different value every single time. This will flatten out the values to get something that is always, actually I'm going to leave chord tones on. That is always something that will sound like it is within a scale. So it'll essentially move the values around, flatten them out, grab what is supposed to fit. It will slide to the correct piano key, essentially. That's not what you need to worry about. For this random note, we're going to get a random value that's the minimum of 60, the maximum of 72. And we're acting on that because we'll be able to get some sort of frequency now based off all of this that matches what we need. So let's listen. Now you can use this random float for anything. I just wanted to also provide an example that I know a lot of people will be looking for, which is how to use the random float to get some sort of random note. So that is the random float node.
This tutorial series is brought to you by my MetaSound Starter Pack. If you're looking for more complicated examples on how to utilize procedurally generated music and game-driven sounds inside of your projects, you might want to give it a look. More details in the description below. This is Space Dodo, where we talk about games and game development.